But the point is that if the election commission has such a closed door approach, if you ask questions, you become the doubting Thomases. If you approach the courts, courts also have a certain approach by which, people have, stopped trusting the courts as well. Now, just to give you an example, look at what happened just day before when Mr. Paul had filed a petition in the Supreme Court regarding the ballot papers that, EVMs should be done away with. We should bring in the ballot papers. And that petition was completely dismissed. Now, what does one say? And how do you really get this faith back in the election commission? I'm ready to agree that, okay, let's not doubt election commission, but the election commission themselves are giving opportunities for the people, to the people to doubt. So how does one deal with a situation like this? You do not have court by your side, election commission, which is almost comatose. So what does one do?
This is the situation where it is the election, the burden of proof is on the election commission. They will have to prove to people like you and me that they are conducting a free and fair poll. If they don't do that, doubting election commission is one thing, but then doubting the entire integrity of the entire election process, the democratic process, that is very dangerous for our country, for our republic. If we want to remain a democratic republic, this has to be fixed. Now, the reason why these doubts are coming up is that look at Jharkhand. Jharkhand went to polls in two phases, on the 13th and on the 20th. Now, what happened on the 30th? 30th, the hike. The hike was at 5 p.m. The total votes in the Election Commission's website. Again, this again is an Election Commission data. 88,92,771. At 11:30 p.m., that goes up to 91,14,885. From 64.86 to 66.48. It's a small 1.62%. Actually, historically speaking, this is also higher, but still it's not as bad as Maharashtra. So 1.62%, still a huge hike. And then there was another hike on the 15th. From there, it gone to 66.65. And if you look at this hike, that's total put together is 1.79% hike. With 1.79% hike, of the 43 seats that have gone to polls on that first phase, NDA gets 17. Keep that in mind, 17 out of 43. But then, if you see what happened to phase 2, the hike was only 0.86%. From 83,74,852 to 84,81,412. Just 0.86%. Now, with 0.86%, NDA gets, out of 30 seats that went to poll in that, out of 30 in second phase, NDA gets 7. And out of 43 in the first phase, NDA gets 17. With 1.79, NDA gets 17. With 0.86, NDA gets just 7. These are the things that lead you to doubt the integrity of the election commission and the entire election process. And if you go back a little bit, say Haryana elections. Haryana elections, Neelu, is so interesting that in 10 districts, the hike was more than 10%. in 10 districts. And in those 10 districts, where the hike was, over 10%, out of that phase, out of 44 seats, BJP wins, NDA wins 37 in those 10 districts, where the hike was more than 10%. And the remaining 12 districts, where the hike was not very high, NDA gets only 11 out of 46. Look at the strike rate. Now, in a district like Panchkula, the hike was 10.52%. In Charkhi Dadri, the hike was about 11.48%. It's a huge high. And you contrast that to Uttar Pradesh, Lok Sabha elections I'm talking about. So that you will know what happens when the hike is very high, what happens when the hike is very low in one state, where the hike in some districts is very high, and in some districts it's very low. What happened? I just told you about Haryana. And before that, when the hike was very low, I told you about Jharkhand. And when the hike was again high in Maharashtra, I told you what happened. Now, let's go to Uttar Pradesh during Lok Sabha. Uttar Pradesh went to polls in 4 phases, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In third phase, it was just 0.2% hike. In phase 4, it is 0.34%. In phase 5, it is 0.23%. In phase 6, it was 0.01%. In phase 7, it is 0.25%. So the highest was 0.34% or 0.2%, 0.25%. So not more than that. Then what happened? What happened was, from 62 seats in the last Lok Sabha, the NDA comes down to 36. Now, don't you get doubts? I'm not saying anything conclusive. But then what I need is a robust, solid, rational explanation for these hikes.
But what does one do? I mean, there are no answers why the Election Commission is doing it, but what is the message which Election Commission is sending? Now, if we analyze the programs and then say that Election Commission is working in cahoots with the government is trying to force Election Commission to behave in a certain manner, what does it show? Doesn't it go to show that Election Commission has completely surrendered before the Modi government? And Election Commission, it seems, has lost its independence totally. It does what Modi government tells the Election Commission to do?
Well, that's one possibility. Otherwise, these things wouldn't have come about. These things wouldn't have happened. But Neelu, it's like this: just because the government or the prime minister or somebody in the government appoints you, it doesn't mean that you need to lose your independence and integrity. You see. Because you see, before Election Commission's appointment went into the hands of a committee consisting of the Prime Minister, leader of the opposition, and the CJI, it used to be the government which used to appoint. And there used to be a single chief election commissioner. After that, there was, a commission. Mr. T.N. Seshan was the head of the commission. He was also the chief election commissioner. And that appointment took place as a result of the government appointment. It was not a committee appointment. But then, to everybody like you, it rings a bell when you say Seshan, isn't it? So it all depends upon the personality also. If they want, if a person wants nothing doing, now I'm in a constitutional position, it's my duty to be obedient to the Constitution rather than somebody who appointed me or facilitated my appointment. I have to bear true allegiance to the Constitution of India, and I have to be impartial. Who is going to stop you? But if you choose to surrender, if you choose to compromise your integrity, and play it to the tunes of the ruling party or the prime minister or somebody, and all sorts of doubts arise. There could be many people who doubt. But
Absolutely. No, but Mr. Prabhakar,
one more sentence, Neelu. But you see, when the doubts are raised, in the interest of the institutional integrity, the election commission, if it gave you to the people of India a rational explanation, people like me will just keep quiet. Convince me.
absolutely.
If you're avoiding, if you're parrying these questions and say that we follow the gold standards and all, what does it mean?
No, but Mr. Prabhakar, it's a clear thing now. I mean, personally speaking, in my own individual capacity, I don't want to give a very wishy-washy picture to the people, since we are talking to the people all the time through programs and otherwise on the ground. Why can't we, in a very strong terms, say that election commission looks compromised when they don't have any answers, they don't have any rationale, they don't want to give any rationale? So it's time now to call the game a game. What is the game in? I mean, what is the kind of game which the election commission is playing, and the kind of calculations which you have just shown in Maharashtra, in Jharkhand, and also of the previous polls in the Lok Sabha, it goes to show that election commission is just not scared of manipulating the data. Is it not time to call this straight?
Yes, absolutely. You see, election commission. There's one more thing, Neelu. Even till today, phase 2 Lok Sabha poll final tally of voting is not revealed. Even till today. And in phase 2, the strike rate of NDA was the highest.
True. No, but that brings me to the next question, Mr. Prabhakar, that this is a kind of a bluff game which is being played in terms of the data by election commission. Is it not?
Yes, it is. It is. They decided to be unaccountable, unanswerable. We are not bothered about it. We just say that we follow gold standard and you shut up. That is the thing. That is the conclusion. And if you want to extend that and say that, look, it is clearly favoring a political party, the ruling party, or the masters who have appointed them, the election commissioners, it's very difficult to dispute that. It's very difficult to refute that. And therefore, that's the reason why I said the burden of proof of their honesty, their integrity, their impartiality is on them. Don't ask us to blindly trust. When there are doubts, you have to, come out clean.
Stay ahead with our cutting-edge news app. Instantly access the latest shorts in just 1 minute and breaking news in just 50 words. Download now for a smarter, faster news experience.